What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back in here to pick it through the bones of what happened yesterday on that pitch at Goodison. Everton 3, Tottenham 2. I guess we'll start off with the match review. What can we say anymore? What can we say?
This club.
It really is. It really is getting harder and harder to take as each week's progress. An Everton side who could barely get on the score sheet. Was it 1 goal in their last 10 games or something like that? Can't hit a barn door for love nor money. A player in Dominic Solanke, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's so out of form. 16 games in a row, he doesn't score. And you just knew. We even said it in the preview leading up to this game. You just knew that this guy was going to score yesterday. And that's exactly what happened. Dr. Tottenham rearing its ugly head once again. I guess we'll start off with the lineup that Ange chose yesterday, because he did try something different. He went for a 3 at the back, Archie Gray on the right side of the defence, Ben Davies on the left with Radu through the middle. He went for more orthodox wing backs in Spence on the left and Pedro Porro on the right. As much as I was happy that he was trying something new, it just didn't work whatsoever. And I feel like whenever Ange does try and change up the formation, it just goes horribly wrong every single time. Yeah,
I'm trying to work out why he did it, because obviously the natural thing is just put Gray in midfield. Why? I don't know why he's so adverse to putting Gray in midfield. It's kind of a bit perplexing, to be honest. He's just got... I don't understand why he felt the need to, with the lineup that he had, to change formation. The only thing I can think of why he did it is obviously we had Brennan pull out before the game. I actually think, as much as Solanke got pulled out, I actually think in a weird way it might have been the Brennan one that made him change it, because this is what I'm trying to think. We know how Everton, yes, they haven't scored, but as well they haven't conceded many, so they're not so easy to score against a lot of the time. They kept clean sheets at the Emirates. They kept clean sheet against who else? Against Chelsea, 0-0 against Chelsea. It was 1-1 at the Etihad. So this is a team who are not so easy to score against, and now without orthodox wingers on the right, he decided to kind of play this formation which could basically concentrate Decky, Son and Maddison a bit more in central areas. And to do that, he felt he maybe needed to get Porro and Spence a bit wider. And to make up for that, I think he felt to concentrate those 3 players in the forward positions, to concentrate them a bit central, he wanted to get a third centre-back in there because he was going to keep Porro and Spence a bit wider. So I think that was the logic. And I think, Decky was picking up good positions. Obviously, Son actually did have a few chances in that first half, but failed to convert any of them. But the reality of what transpired is I don't think anyone in the back line knew what they were doing, to be honest. I think Gray was asked to do this kind of hybrid role, like right back in possession or right centre-back. Sorry,
bombing up the pitch as well.
He was asked to do multiple roles, and clearly he didn't know which position way too often to be in when we were out of possession. I think Dragshin and Davis were all over the shop. We were playing this high line and we weren't pressing anywhere near enough to force mistakes of Everton, which meant they had time on the ball, and which meant they were just having time to play balls over the top, and Calvert-Lewin was obviously running in behind. He seemed to have a new lease of life all of a sudden in this game. I don't know what David Moyes said to him, but he clearly seemed a lot more on it in this game than I've seen him in previous games. But obviously we allowed that to happen. I think we were just absolute mess defensively all over the shop in that first half, and that's what led to what was an absolute car crash of a performance at the back in the first half. We were just conceding chances left, right and centre. We were all over the shop, and even when we had players back, you look at the first goal. That first goal, there's 4 players around Calvert-Lewin. 4 players, and no one is putting a challenge in. No one is blocking the shot. They're allowing him to dance through in the box and get that shot off. I mean, it's an absolute disgrace how no one is having the aggression or even the wherewithal to just to put a foot in that situation. Again, people... I'm not saying Ange isn't to blame, because look, he's admitted it after the game. He got it completely wrong that first half, and he changed it and it completely backfired. But I'm sorry, there are 4 players around Calvert-Lewin. Someone put a challenge in. Someone make it hard for him. Like, how are they allowing him in that position to get a shot off is absolutely balmy to me. Absolute disgrace. Not like we didn't have the players back. There are literally 4 players around him and no one is stopping him. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it just got worse from then on. Obviously, we did have chances at 1-0. Sonny had a couple of moments at 1-0 and we could have had a penalty as well. I mean, Sonny's his finishing in the last few weeks has just been dreadful. He can't seem to put it in the back of the net over the last few weeks. He's been getting some chances, but I don't know what it is with him. But at the moment, he can't seem to be picking his spot.
It's the same with him as it is for the whole team right now. Completely devoid of confidence. They're completely devoid of energy. You know, Sonny gets in those opportunities. You know, 6 months ago, for the past 5, 6, 7, 10 years, pretty much, he would have finished that 10 times out of 10. You know, that was a real the second chance that he got, you know, where he's pretty much in the centre of the goal. He's got the whole goal to aim at pretty much, and he pretty much just fires it straight at Pickford, you know. That's a chance that Sonny gobbles up 10 times out of 10 if he's got confidence. And that's what we're seeing from the team at the moment. They're all of them, pretty much all of them, apart from the players that haven't been overplayed, like a Jed Spence, like a Lucas Bergvall. They're the only ones that look like they had any sort of energy on the pitch yesterday, and they're the ones that haven't been overplayed. It was madness to me, and I was saying this all week. It was absolutely madness that we played Pedro Porro yesterday. He looked like a gaping hole on that right-hand side, like we always see. But it makes no sense when you've got a game on Thursday when you know Pedro Porro has to play, to not play Reguilon in this game. And I'm not even saying that Reguilon playing this game would have made all the difference and we would have got the win. But what it does do, it takes Porro out the firing line a little bit and gives him a bit more energy to play in the game on Thursday night, which we know he has to play.
I think, yes, that's true. But I also think just the problem was the setup. I don't even think in theory the setup was the problem. I just think the way it transpired. I don't know whether I don't know how much they trained on it or what the situation was. But he went with this setup and it just completely. I think the players didn't know their jobs really on the pitch. I think defensively, no one knew who was picking up who. I think the attacking players as well. I think the pressing structure, no one really knew which players to press to. I think it was just a complete mishmash, and it led to not being able to press them properly off the ball, which led to defensively when they were coming forward, it was just a complete absolute mess. And there's no other way of putting it. It was a complete car crash against an Everton side, as you say, really struggled. Obviously, they clearly have a bit of new energy with David Moyes in there. I think that did contribute, but you know, there's no excuse for being so open against a side who should really be struggling for confidence in front of goal, and they didn't seem that way yesterday. They looked like they were more confident than ever. I think they probably scored more goals in that game than they have in their last 10 games.
But all you need for a bit of confidence, all you need for a bit of confidence is come and face this Tottenham side. We've seen it all season. Ipswich haven't won a game all season. Come play Tottenham. Give them a confidence boost. Crystal Palace haven't won a game all season. Come play Tottenham. We'll give you a confidence boost. And now this Everton side have scored 1 goal in 10. You need a confidence boost? Don't worry, we'll give you 3 goals in the first half with absolutely horrific defending. And that second one as well, like, was it Pape Sarr with the poor pass that just let the player get Ilman and Dye. Ilman and Dye, by the way, looks like a really good player. I was saying it in the preview, and he took Dragoshin to the cleaners. He took Dragoshin. Why is he not stepping out and making a challenge or something? Like, one step over and Dragoshin's completely out of the game.
I think if you watch the goal back, I think Gray again is culpable. He just lets Ndiaye run off him. He should be getting goal side. He should be a lot stronger. He should be getting close to him to make sure that he's not running into space. And as soon as Ndiaye's away from him, he's away. And then you look at the defending. He's one-on-one with well, not one-on-one because he's also got Davis there. But Dragoshin is just allowing him into the space. What Dragoshin should be doing is showing him inside so Davis can then come and mop up, but he doesn't. He just basically shows him on the outside, allows him to attack the space, and obviously it's a really good finish, but it's horrific defending again all round. Again, I think the lack of maybe a number 6 on that occasion also probably cost us quite heavily, because Ndiaye had all that space to run into. But again, Gray got absolutely turned inside out for the first goal, and I think he allows Ndiaye to run off him for the second goal. I'm not hammering him or saying he's the big problem or anything like that. I think Gray's absolutely been phenomenal in this, even though we've been absolute shite in this last 10 games. He's been brilliant the way he stepped in. But yesterday was probably a game too far, because I thought he had a bit of a mare, and I thought the first 2 goals didn't have a good role to play in them, to be honest.
It's only so long, right, that that, Archie Gray, like you say, he's been brilliant, right? But he's an 18-year-old midfielder playing in defence, and he's been playing in a system which, he's pretty much been on the training pitch training with this system. They try a completely new system, playing him at a right centre-back. He didn't know where to go, whether it be at right back. He didn't know where to be at centre-back. He was pushing up the field into midfield and bombing on it at times as well. I mean, he was all over the place yesterday. And obviously in the third goal, he scores the own goal as well.
Yeah, which was another mess. Absolute mess.
Yeah, all 3 goals that we conceded yesterday were embarrassing. Nothing short of embarrassing. And the game was done. The game was done at half-time. I had no inkling that Spurs were going to, make a comeback or make any sort of fist of it. He makes that change at half-time. Richarlison comes on for Dragoshin, and he goes back to the more orthodox system. And until we made the Mikey Moore change on 72 minutes, I thought there was just nothing in that game. We didn't have any chances. Everton really didn't have any chances. They were playing like they'd won the game already, and we
had won the game.
Yeah, they had won the game, and we couldn't hurt them. We had nothing. We had no energy to go and attack them and actually create any chances. And it took for a 17-year-old kid, Mikey Moore, on the 73rd minute to go and cause Everton any sort of problems. And that cross, by the way, from Mikey Moore
Beautiful.
For Richarlison's goal was something out of the top drawer. And I was calling for changes literally every 5 minutes. I was for Mikey Moore to come on. Why did it take for so long for him to bring on someone like Mikey Moore to add a bit of energy, a bit of impetus in the game yesterday?
I don't know. Obviously, we know he's been missing a lot of football, so he wants to be careful with him. But when did he first come back, Mikey Moore? Was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
I can't remember what game he first came back in. He obviously started against Tamworth, got an hour.
He was on the bench for Villa. He was on the bench for Liverpool.
Liverpool in the Cup.
Then started the Tamworth game on the bench against Arsenal, and then came on yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously waited till 20 minutes to go. Maybe he didn't, I don't know why it took him so long, but obviously he did make a good impact when he did come on. But he could have come on maybe about 10 minutes earlier. That's probably what you would say. Apart from that, obviously, it's just we're losing players left, right and centre. We lost Basuma and Johnson and again this week. We've lost Solanke the day before the game in training, him taking a shot. Every week we're just losing more and more players, and it's absolutely ridiculous. But he could have brought on Mikey Moore early. Maybe that would have made a bit more of a difference. Obviously, we did get 2 goals back when Moore came on, and he was a shining light, 100%. He was absolutely brilliant when he came on, and he was the only one asking different questions of this Everton back line, taking people on, earning corners, just committing players, and had quality. He had quality there when I think he was one who pulled that cross back for Richarlison, who had a chance. I think it was him as well, which Richarlison should have done more with. He should have buried that chance. So he was creating opportunities, and it shouldn't need as you say, a kid to really start asking questions of the Everton backline. The senior players should be the ones stepping up, but that's what it means at the moment. It just seems it's the young players who are the ones really trying to get us through this period. The senior players look just done at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got players like Will Lancashire, Jan Min Hyuk, Sergio Reguilon. I mean, there's so many tired players on the pitch that just can't give what they usually give or what they want to give. So I just don't understand why, we don't make changes earlier in the game just to give us a bit more energy. Even if it's not like so much quality that we can go and win the game, at least it will give us a bit more energy, and it will give us something extra in the game, because we're just so out on our feet at the moment. And Kulusevski, God bless Kulusevski, because you can clearly see how tired, he is, but he is just giving his all for this team right now, Becky. If anything was going to happen, it was going to come through him in the first half. Unbelievable finish to claw it back to 3-1 as well. What a finish that was.
Yeah, and I thought he actually had a really good game overall, and he created that chance for Son in the first half.
Recalled game.
We have. Yeah, I do. Apparently, the plan is to send him out on loan again. Look, maybe we'll talk about that later. But yeah, he's been recalled. Obviously, off the back of Solanke's injury. I wonder if people put 2 and 2 together there. But yeah, Decky, I thought he was the only one in terms of our senior players who was really making things happen yesterday. And I thought he actually had a pretty good game overall. And I thought he was the one consistently causing problems for Everton. And obviously he did score a really nice goal, and he again, as he has been a lot of this season, a bit of a shining light. Obviously, I think he was much better in this game than he has been in the previous performances, but it just wasn't enough. We need more from everyone else. We need more. It can't just be Decky all the time, and that's also been a big problem.
What do we do now because Richarlison felt something? He went down, didn't he, after he scored the goal? After we got it back.
Well, he had gotten a big knock from Pickford.
What happens now if he's out injured?
I don't know. Dane Scarlett. Lancashire. Going to have to be Lancashire.
I don't know. It's just getting beyond the joke what is happening with the injuries right now. We literally have no more players. We've literally got no more players. And how do we manoeuvre this situation, right? Because we're 8 points from the drop. We've got Leicester coming up next, which is a massive game now. It really is a massive game, Leicester at home. We've got Thursday night football where we can't even play Jed Spence and we can't even play players like Sergio Reguilon. The more these players play, the more tired they get, which is an obvious. And the week by week, our squad is just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So we're going to have to put in a big energy on Thursday nights. Where's that going to leave us for the game against Leicester? On a normal day, you'd say, yeah, Leicester at home, we should beat them. But I'm not so sure that we're going to beat them now with how tired we are.
There's no
week by week, we're getting more tired.
There is no game you can take for granted right now in the situation we're in. Absolutely no game. You have to earn your victories. There's going to be absolutely no game where you're just handed to win on the play. They're going to be as well. They're 7 defeats in a row, but they are desperate for points, and they're going to be absolutely put everything. They'll also see it as a chance. They'll probably be smelling blood as much as they're in a terrible way. Probably one of the only teams who are in worse form than us. They're going to be smelling blood as well because they know the situation we're in. They know that if they take the lead, the ground might turn toxic and all these different things. They'll see an Everton team who was struggling to score and they got 3 goals. So I think they'll see this as an opportunity to really try and get their season back on track. So there's no game at the moment right in front of us that is going to be an easy 3 points or anything. That's just going to be a game where you take for granted because as you say, every single game we are losing more and more players. The situation doesn't seem to be getting worse. So it doesn't seem to be getting better. It seems to be getting worse week by week. Ange, at the moment, doesn't seem to know how to manoeuvre us out of this situation. I think he's trying to keep some semblance of the way we play with the squad that we have, but I just don't think at the moment it's possible. We're just losing every week with the way that we're playing and the situation that it is. And then we're trying to basically wait it out until we get our players back, but the reality is the players aren't coming back quick enough, and we're losing more players along the way, and the situation is getting deeper and deeper and deeper. It's hard to see where this changes at the moment. As I've always said, I don't see it changing until the situation changes. Well, the situation's getting worse. That is the problem. That is the big problem. And I've always said, once we come out the other side, the results and form will probably start to turn, but I'm struggling to see how he gets there at this point because, as I said before this game, the next 7 games are massive. The next 7 games are absolutely massive in terms of the season. Now, we've just lost to Lanky. He's probably going to miss the next 7 games. Johnson's going to miss the next 7 games now. I don't know what the state of Basuma. Hopefully he's not too serious. Romero and Van de Ven are only going to be here, they're saying, probably the 27th of Jan, and that's the next 2 games. And if they come back on then, people are going to accuse them of rushing them back. Do we need to kind of ease them back in, or can we put them straight back in without risking them of getting re-injured as well? It's an absolutely horrendous nightmare scenario that we're in, and it's really difficult to see how this all pans out in a positive way right now, to be honest, because of the situation that we are in at the moment. It's really, really difficult to see how in 7 games our season isn't over, to be honest. Because we're just losing more and more players, and on top of that, we've done F4 in the transfer market. I know we got a keeper in, but clearly, as I know, Kinski, made some good saves yesterday. But again, he played really well. But don't get me wrong, I'm not criticising him. But you could also see he still needs time with this backline to create some sort of cohesion. A lot of the time as well, he's nearly getting caught on the ball. He's making mistakes sometimes. That's going to happen when you're a risk-taking goalkeeper like he is.
He's a young
keeper, and as well, you're in a new team, a different level of football than he's used to. I know he had a brilliant debut against Liverpool. Don't get me wrong, but there's a new defenders he's got trying to create a relationship with, and he's still getting into the style of play. There's going to be mistakes early on. It's not going to be plain sailing. So, he's not also that experienced. So he's still kind of growing as a goalkeeper himself. And don't get me wrong, happily he's here, but he's still going to have to go through that period where he makes mistakes. And we've got absolutely no help from this board this window. We're now 20th of January. We are I don't think we've ever needed signings more than we do right now. We are in DEFCON 5. This is time to panic. This is. I usually say I don't want to see panic buys. We need bloody panic buys. Panic, panic, panic. Get players in. We need help right now. And we are absolutely toiling away. This is not the time to be methodical and kind of, we need to get players in right now. Otherwise, we are hurtling down this table, and there's a real fear that we will be seriously dragged into that battle right down at the bottom if we don't get this manager some help. Now, the word again from the board and from what Ali Gold is saying right now is they are intent on helping Ange Postecoglou and not removing him from his position. That's all well and good, but help him, bloody help him, because he's getting no help at the moment. He's getting absolutely zero. He's being hung out to dry, and either they're just putting lip service to give everyone a boogeyman to shout out while we're losing games, right? Or they're just being negligent in the way they're dealing with the transfer window, because we need players right now. Get them through the door. We are toiling away. But it's all well and good waiting until the end of the window to get the best deals, but the season could be over by the end of the window. We need players today. We need players 2 weeks ago. That's when we need players. But the frustrating thing is, this isn't a situation that's like only appeared at the 1st of Jan. This is the situation that we knew about at the beginning of December. They've had time to plan about what we need. We knew what players were going to be out pretty much until the end of January, early February. We knew the situation. Odegaard, Van der Ven, Romero, all these players we knew were not going to be returning until the end of this month. So we need players in right now. We've known that situation, and it's a disgrace that we're here on the 20th of January and there's just no sign of players through the door. It's an absolute disgrace.
Yep. And yeah, look, this board and we keep hearing from Ali Gold, they want to back this manager, they're backing this manager, they're not pushing any red buttons anytime soon. So back him. If you're going to back him, then back him. Back him means bring players in and help him through this situation. I've made it clear on what I think about Ange Postecoglou and whether I think he's doing a good job or not. Clearly, he's not doing a good job, because we're 8 points above the relegation zone right now. But if we don't bring players in for him, there is no chance that we don't fall further and further close to this relegation fight. We got Leicester on the weekend. If we lose to Leicester, I dread to think what the next few weeks after that look like. Because if we lose to Leicester, there is a genuine chance, we could just be sitting 5 points above the relegation zone after that. I don't know who Ipswich have. I think we're lucky that they've got a few hard games. They play Liverpool away this next weekend. But the weekend after, Ipswich play Southampton at home. They play Southampton at home. That's a winnable game for them. So if we lose our next 2 games and Ipswich get 3 points against Southampton, we are literally 5 points above the relegation zone. Mm-hmm. 5 points at this stage of a season, and anything can happen there in a couple of weeks' time. I think in a month's time, we got to go to Ipswich. Have you got any hope, any positivity about you to think we can go to Ipswich and win right now?
We can't any games, as I said.
You know what I mean?
There's no guaranteed for us in any game right now.
Even if Ipswich lose every game after that Southampton game up till we play them, and then we got to go to Ipswich.
When is it?
It's in like a month's time.
Well, hopefully by the end of February you're talking about.
When's the Spurs Ipswich game? Spurs Ipswich, mid-February.
I mean, hoping we'll have some players back by then.
Hoping.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for. We're living on a prayer right now.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is right. What if we go to Ipswich, right, 5 points above them, and they're still in the relegation zone? A loss there, and we're 2 points above the relegation zone. 2 points, and this isn't even far-fetched what I'm talking about. It could be a real reality.
Absolutely, because we're losing. We could have less players by that point. Who knows? We're literally losing players constantly, and I don't think Ange is helping the situation in terms. I don't think it's his fault, but I don't think he's helping the situation because we play. This is the way he's implemented the style of play and the situation we're in. It's not helping the players. We are absolutely running on empty. We're blowing cold at the moment. We are being run into the ground with the way. Look, I know he changed the way, and we're playing a bit. And also, the last few weeks, we clearly have been a bit more. I don't know whether it's by design, but we clearly have been sitting back a bit more and haven't been completely just held for leather high press, consistent throughout every game. But at the moment, he doesn't know how to deal with this situation.
The reality
he doesn't know how to deal with this situation.
Postecoglou right now is absolutely clueless. He was watching on the game from the sidelines yesterday, and he looked like he didn't have a Scooby of how to turn that game around, or even how to manoeuvre ourselves through the game. He waited until 73 minutes in that second half when we looked like we had no hope in hell, no energy or no nothing to go and attack Everton. He waited until 73 minutes, and yeah, we salvaged something at the end and scored 2 goals, but no way in any stretch of the imagination did anyone have any belief that we could, fully turn the game around. I mean, the guy is absolutely clueless right now. And
he doesn't know. He doesn't know how to deal with it. I don't think he expected to be in this situation. Of course, he's not a manager for a relegation fight. That's for damn sure. I think he's a manager for what we wanted him to be, which was try and get us back being competitive in the top end of the table and the way he plays football. But with this situation, this isn't the guy you want, I don't think, in the situation that we're in. Now, the problem is, if we get rid of him and we bring in we either bring first of all, I don't think an interim massively helps, but we bring in, I don't know who we're going to bring in at this point, but you're looking at probably if you could bring in a firefighter for the short term, and then come the next season, you could go in a new direction. Tottenham are very much stuck right now in terms of the direction we go, because you're trying to build something, and we've now been thrust into this situation that we're in, which is an absolute dire situation. I do still believe if players come back. No, I'm not saying, again, I'm being consistent. I'm not saying we're going to go on a 10-game winning run if players come back, but I think we'll definitely win enough games to we'll only be thinking of relegation if that was to happen. But the problem is, the players aren't coming back soon enough, and we're losing more players. So if that continues to be the situation, right, I don't know how we change it unless we change the manager from that point of view. Now, if there is genuine belief that we've made change in the medical team and all these different things and conditioning, and we do believe that players will come back, and we're going to just ride through this storm, and we are going to sign some players, then I can see the situation changing. But right now, we've just gone through another week where we've lost to a team who are who were battling relegation. They've scored 3 goals when they hadn't scored. They had only scored, I think, 1 in their last 10. Oh, sorry, they scored like 4 in their last 10, and 3 of them were own goals, something stupid like that. We're losing more and more players by the week. There are no signs of new signings through the door, and so I can't see any situation where that turns out positive with the right now, because I don't think Ange has the tools capable within him to see us through this situation while it continues to worsen. He clearly doesn't seem to do so. But I don't think we'll be better off in the short term in terms of, if this situation doesn't get better, we are probably better off getting someone who can just manoeuvre out of the situation than go in a new direction. But then I don't think that's good for the long term of this club, in all honesty. I don't see that being a massive positive. I just think we'll get a short upturn. The manager might get us out of the situation, then we're back to square one.
Now we're literally in dire straits. There's no we can't be thinking about long-term projects right now when we're literally dropping deeper and deeper into a relegation battle. We're Tottenham Hotspur, right? 5 years ago, we were in a Champions League final. We were talking about being in a relegation battle. We moved into this shiny new stadium, 5-6 years ago? And we're in a relegation battle. This is an absolute joke. This board have blood on their hands right now. Ange Postecoglou has no clue how to manoeuvre this situation and get us out the trouble that we're in. We're losing player by player. And yes, I agree with you with what you're saying about the medical staff and all that. And they've got a massive part to play. But Ange Postecoglou as well has got a massive part to play while we're in this mess and while we're in this situation. like I keep saying, keeps overplaying players, and right now he's got no choice for the next couple of weeks to overplay players. Kulusevski is going to have to play every single game. He's going to have to play Thursday night. He's going to have to play against Leicester. But there was no reason why Pedro Porro couldn't have been out the firing line yesterday and just to give us a bit of an energy boost. Why is he not giving the team a bit of a respite with a bit of an energy boost? It makes no sense to me whatsoever. But in terms of why we're in this injury mess, yes, the medical team, we've all known about the medical team for a long time. We all know about Daniel Levy and how he gives every manager to manage his team with two hands tied behind their back. But the Van de Ven injury, completely on Ange Postecoglou. Many other injuries this season are completely on Ange Postecoglou. And I think every single person, when you talk about the medical team, Daniel Levy and Ange have got a big part to play of why we're in here. And I just can't see the situation getting better with this guy as our manager. And we're falling deeper and deeper and deeper down in this season. And I just feel like we need something just to give us a boost from now until the end of the season and then just reassess everything in the summer. That's what I feel like where we're at right now.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that because you're worried about dropping nearer down to the reality is we're still 8 points away from that. So, and it's not like the teams below us are winning exactly consistently. Frankly, I don't think we are going to get relegated. I don't think we're going to seriously be dragged into it. I think by the time near the end of the season comes around, we'll be well clear of that situation. But right now, there's absolute real fears that we could really be dragged into. And I'm not saying you're absolutely wrong for being worried about it. I just personally believe we're not going to be relegated and we're not going to be seriously in an absolute dogfight. That's my belief.
If we lose to Leicester this weekend?
This is my belief. This is my belief.
You still feel like that if we lose to Leicester this weekend?
Yeah. I'll still feel like that. Even if we lose to Leicester this weekend, I'll still feel like that. Because again, we're probably going to be in the same situation in the Leicester game as it's been for the last 2 months. And we need that situation to change. Now, as I've said, if you're looking at the longer term, you're looking to continue with what we're trying to build, you might be better off trying to ride it out. But are we able to ride it out right now? Is it going to keep getting worse? That's what the Spurs have to juggle with right now. I'm not obviously internally. I don't know how they're really believing. If they really believe all these injuries are on Ange and it's completely his fault, then why have they sacked the medical staff from bringing new medical
Never
people?
Said it's completely his fault.
I'm not saying you did. I'm just saying if the club believe that, right, then I think they would have made a change. They would have considered that. And I don't think they would have completely changed the medical team if they didn't believe they had a big part to play in the situation that they're in. So I think the club have taken a decision in that point to get in more new conditioning people and new medical people because they believe. When I'm not saying injuries are inevitable the way we play, but I definitely believe the fact that a lot of these players are being re-injured is 100. I think a big, I would say 90% is that's on the medical team of why these players are coming back and getting re-injured again. That's 100. That's got to be on the medical team 100% because they have to be, and the conditioning team because they have to be managing and dealing with that situation. But
everyone has got a part to play. It's not just the medical team, but Ange has got to be in it as well. And he seems absolutely clueless right now. He really does. He changes a whole system. People are saying, where's your plan B? Where's this? Where's that? Whenever he reverts to anything apart from what he knows as the norm, we're terrible. And we're terrible when we're at his norm as well right now. So, I mean, I don't know how we can move forward in this situation. I really just don't know. Because
we need signings. If we're not going to get injured players, that's the only way we can. That's the only thing that can change right now because the injuries don't seem to be letting up. So the only way is to sign players, and we're not doing that. So if we're not going to do that, the situation won't change, and you might as well change.
One signing ain't going to change. We need like a bloody 4 or 5 signings.
Plural. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Plural.
We need like 4 or 5 signings. That ain't going to happen. That ain't going to happen. And, it's all well and good, saying, oh, the club decided this and they realised the medical team were the issue.
I never said they realised. They've said they've taken the decision to hold the medical team accountable. That's what they've decided.
Yeah, but, I mean, when have they, in the last, 5 or 6 years, when have they ever made the right call and the right decisions? It's clear to see that the players are so knackered, right, and they can't play the system that Ange Postecoglou wants them to play because of how tired they are. because of they keep getting overplayed. Players are dropping like flies, and they still won't give Ange Postecoglou signings. Like you said before, we're sitting here the 20th of January. If we come to the end of this transfer window and let's say we've only brought in one player or we've brought in no players, this board have got they've got serious questions to answer right now. But I mean, that surely there can't be anyone left. There can't be anyone left that back this board. There can't be. I can't see anyone looking at the situation right now and can accept no signings in this transfer window.
It's ridiculous. If you need to overpay, you have to overpay. Otherwise, you're literally risking being dragged into relegation fight with the way things are going. So if that's not worth the money to you, I don't know what is. You know what I mean? You have to... I understand you don't want to be taken for a ride. I understand you don't want to be... understand clubs like Ange said are going to try and take advantage of you because of the situation you're in. But quite frankly, that doesn't matter right now.
We're getting taken for a ride week in, week out by every team we play against.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter right now. We need help on the pitch. We absolutely need all the help we can get, and we're not getting anything. As I've consistently said, and I still believe it, I do think that I don't believe that Ange Ball is terrible and that it can't work and all these different things. But in the situation we are now, it's definitely not helping the situation. It's probably exacerbating the situation, and he needs. It's all well and good sticking to your principles and all that kind of stuff, but you can't stick to it go to relegation. You can't stick to it in the sense where it becomes such an absolute dire scenario where you're literally fighting for your lives. And as I've said, we're 8 points clear. I know we're 15th, and I know the situation is getting worse. I don't think we're quite there yet, but it's getting close to it. It is getting way too close for comfort, and we shouldn't be sitting here thinking if we lose to Leicester, all of a sudden it's 5 points and all these different things. That should never be the situation. So it's absolute, the whole situation, absolute shit show. It's diabolical, and right now there's very little light at the end of the tunnel right now.
Yeah, and that's the reality. And the club need to act, and they need to act really fast, whatever they're going to do. We need to bring in signings first and foremost. A decision with the manager looks like they've already made the decision with the manager. It's like they're going to stick with him. But if they are going to stick with him, they need to give him at minimum 4 signings before the end of the window. That's exactly what we need. And if it's 1 or 2, it's not good enough. It really isn't good enough. And it's actually ridiculous that we're sitting here 20th of January and we've only made Kinski in the first week of the window. And there's not even any talk of anything or nothing right now. And I know, Johan Lang likes to work in darkness and maybe something will pop out of nowhere. But can you really see us signing more than one player from now to the end of the window? Because I can't.
Not how we operate. We're losing game after game here. Give him some help. I'm just sick of... I keep saying I don't even think it's the wrong decision to stick with him if you believe you can ride this out and you'll be better off for it. But the problem is, are we going to ride it out with the way we're operating? That is the problem. It keeps getting worse. So the situation, it's all well and good saying when we get to the other side, are we going to get there? Are we going to get to that other side? Right, when is that coming? Because at the moment we're losing player after player. I'm losing faith whether we are going to get to that other side, if that's ever going to change. And if that's not going to change, then you seriously need to be way more proactive in this window, because I'm just losing any sort of goodwill with anything right now.
Yeah, well, welcome to half on my side. Welcome. But it's an absolutely shit show what is going on at our beloved football club right now, and I don't know which way to turn, and something needs to change, and it needs to change fast. Otherwise, this is going to be the probably worst season that we've ever had to endure as Spurs fans, and something that we've never thought we'd have to talk about. But that is your match review. Everton 3, Tottenham 2. Let's get into a couple of super chats before we move on to the player ratings. Where are we? Here. Jomanji says, Sims takes are the only thing keeping me sane.
Thank you. You're probably the only one, but thank you. I don't think anyone's staying sane at the moment.
Joshua and And Tony says Dane has been recalled. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Is he going to be loaned out? I mean, we need him. The reality is, not even Dane Scarlett, Jamie Donnelly smashing it, Manor Solomon smashing it. All these players we could do with right now. That is the reality. Even a George Abbott, like all these players. I know they're doing it in the lower leagues, but we just need men. We just need like options.
Yeah, according to George Sessions, the plan is to loan him out again. Obviously, he did have a little purple patch, didn't he, during the season where he was scoring, but clearly he's been out. Well, he's been off form again for the last few weeks, so maybe they're just thinking he needs another change. But yeah, I mean, right now, I mean, the problem is if we play him, then he can't go out on loan again.
Is that right?
Because you can't play for 3 teams in a season. So we should be signing a player.
We're not even giving Lancashire a go. So what says we're going to give Scarlett a go?
Yeah. True. Well, now Rishi's back. I don't know if hopefully he's not picked up another injury with that collision with Pickford, but he's back now and we're going to need him more than ever. The problem is Maddison said after the game that Richie came on and he's still nowhere near ready to start games. That's what he said. That's what Maddison said in the interview. He said he'd come on and did a big job. And even Davis, before the game, Ange said he wasn't going to play 90 minutes. And then Dragoshin, I don't know why he had to go off at half time. I don't know if it
could have been a concussion or something.
I don't know. Maybe it was something to do with his head, but clearly had a head injury and then he stayed on, but then went off at half time. So Davison had to play 90 minutes. It's just I mean, so that those are things that, that's just luck. Like, what can you do about that? But there's all these situations. Yeah, Ange has got a lot of part to play with the injury crisis, but there's been so many things luck-wise that have gone against us as well. Obviously, the injury crisis is probably a lot of it's to do with Ange, but the amount of bad luck we've had, probably I would say probably 50, at least 50%, you can easily just put straight down to luck in that injury crisis that we have straight out. And then obviously the muscle injuries, probably definitely a part of them is down to Ange, and maybe some of those is luck as well. Who knows? I don't know if you can put them all down to Ange, but definitely his way we play definitely causes muscle injuries. I don't think anyone can deny that. So it's just mad, the situation that we're in.
Carl Patrick Vineyard says, big up lads, hope you're well. I want Ange out and Levy out. Thank you. Come on you Spurs. Big up to you KPB.
Go on, KPB.
Anyup Narayanan says, let's also discuss how Ange spent 400 million in transfers and have gone from top 5 to last season to bottom 5 this season.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, again, there's very clear context to that. But yeah, he's had a lot of money to spend for sure. Has he been backed? Has he not been backed? The reality is, as much as he had a lot of money to spend, he did have a major clear out to do, and we had to rebuild the squad a lot. You look at the squad now compared to at the end of Conte. How many players did Conte have that we still have? Romero, Bentancur, Basuma,
Porro,
but Porro. But Porro was Conte barely played him, but yeah, Porro. I mean, yeah, Reguilon, but. Yeah, Reguilon, I guess.
I mean,
Son. What, 5 players? No, who else?
I'm trying to look at the squad. So, out of the goalkeepers, no one. I mean, Fraser Forster was there, wasn't he, under Conte?
Yeah, but again, we signed another keeper, so like Kinski, Vicario.
So, Ben Davis, Pedro Porro, Sergio Reguilon, Cuti Romero. That's it. Jed Spence, but he didn't want to play Jed Spence, but he was still there. Rodrigo Bentancur, Yves Bissouma, Pape Sarr, Dejan Kulusevski, Richarlison, Son Heung-min. That's it.
So I have a squad that should be 24. That's 11 players that have remained from Conte. So that's what we needed to sign, an extra... We need to sign basically an extra 12 players. And I know 400 million sounds a lot, but for 12 players, it's actually not that. It's like, you know what I mean? It's not like crazy to think 400 million. It's not like he's had a settled squad and he's added 400 million onto that. You know what I mean? He's had to completely gut the squad, clear out over half the players, and then rebuild. So yes, he's given that money, but we sold Kane for 100 million. So it's not like, let's say Poch in like 16, 17, he got 200 million in that summer, right? You'd say he's really been backed and he should really be building on that because he's had an unbelievable team and he's building on it. This is a completely different situation where he's had to gut the squad and then spend money rebuilding this. And like it needed at least 400 million to sign the players.
I don't know how many players Poch brought in, but I remember after the first season he did gut the squad, but I think it was maybe to a lower scale than what it is now.
Yeah, I mean, I have to look back at it. I'm just saying in terms of like the 400 million, if he didn't spend that like we wouldn't even have a squad. You know what I mean? And even right now we're still struggling for numbers.
We sold we got rid of how many players in the summer?
We got rid of
a lot of players.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? He had to spend at least 400 million just to keep up the squad, just to have, so we have a squad to play with, let alone building on that squad.
But we all said it, didn't we? Like, regardless of the money spent, we all said it that we didn't do anywhere near enough in the summer.
Yeah, 100%, and that also comes into it. So when it comes into the summer, we let go of a lot of experience, and we only got really Solanke as our senior player adding to that squad, and all the other ones are going to take time for them to really find their best form and really become a consistent level. I mean, they've done very well for their age. Don't get me wrong. I think they're proper talents, but you're still relying on two 18-year-olds. Then they're going to make mistakes, and they're going to have to. So I don't like when people say he's been given 400 million, so he's been backed. Like, I mean, the context of that is completely different, in my opinion.
No manager has ever been backed at Tottenham Hotspur, and even if he's had money to spend, you know, it's not been enough. It's not been enough.
He wasn't going to gut the squad and have nothing to spend. We needed to obviously buy players. And
but it's not been enough, is what I'm saying.
I agree with you, but I'm saying 400 million on 12 players. I don't know what that is per player on average, but it's not like loads.
Brian Daigle says, we are in a place of worship today as my brother Ben is preaching and speaking the gospel truth. Big up to you, Brian. Good to have you in the live chat. And again, he sent in another super chat saying, I've started calling Spurs Checkmate FC because every time there is a glimmer of hope for a player, manager, success or new ownership in one single move, Levy screws it up and says checkmate. It definitely feels like that. The topic of conversation once again is these bloody owners of ours that just don't want to give any manager the tools for actual success at this football club. But let's move on and let's move in to our player rating, starting off with Antonin Kinski. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 7. Look, I thought he made a number of really good saves in the first half, fingertips fully stretched out, and I think he was a big part of why we weren't, 4 or 5 down by half time. So I got to give him a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, I thought, that one from Mangala was absolutely phenomenal save. And after criticism for some of his shot stopping against Arsenal, it was good to see he made some really good saves in this game. However, there was clearly some still teething problems playing out at the back. As much as he's got great quality, clearly he's still learning people's positions and all these different things, because I thought there were quite a few mistakes that passed into quite a lot of pressure during the game from his playing out the back. But I thought quite often though his sweeping was pretty good, and when he was coming off his line there was some good stuff there. But yeah, he'd done well, but still some teething problems, which is natural with a young keeper who's a brave keeper as well. There's going to be some issues there.
Pedro Porro up next. Sim gives him a 4. I gave him a 2. I do feel a bit sorry for him that he had to play this game, because I don't think he ever should have started. However, he did start in a more natural position for him in a right wing back, and I just felt like he did nothing, no impact going forward. I felt like there was a gaping hole on that side as well, and he just had little to no impact in the game.
I think in the first half, I know defensively we're all over the shop, but there was the chances that we did create. A lot of down was actually through some really good passing from Porro, who still we know provides that quality on the ball. But defensively, obviously he didn't get it right between him and Archie Gray on that side. Who's going to be where? They clearly were absolutely muddled with it. I thought in the second half he actually played some really nice passes. There was one really nice pass, I think was to Richarlison, who miscontrolled it, and then it went through to the keeper, Pickford. He had moments, but it was, again, defensively, it was just a shit show in terms of they just didn't have it sorted out between him and Gray, who was supposed to be where.
Next up, we're going to look at Archie Gray. 3s all round for Archie. Pretty much had his hand in all 3 goals that we did concede. Got turned into a pretzel for the first goal from Dominic Calvert-Lewin. The second one as well, he's got to be doing more to provide cover. The third one, obviously, he puts it into the back of his own net. I did think, apart from those 3 chances, I mean, he just looked completely lost on the pitch. He's asked to play right centre-back, and he was charging up the pitch. He was at right-back at times. He was at centre-back at times. And I just felt like he was just completely lost because of the tactics that Ange Postecoglou was deploying. I don't think he knew what role he was actually playing, and I feel sorry for him. He's an 18-year-old central midfielder, asked to play here, asked to play there, asked to play everywhere. There's only so much an 18-year-old central midfielder can do at centre-back. And, yeah, I mean, he looks really settled in the role that Ange has originally asked him to play, but yesterday I didn't really think he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, Archie, I love you, but you had an absolute mare, and I think a part of it is probably the formation change, and maybe clearly there was confusion about exactly where he should be at each time and who he should be picking up, and definitely, but there's also just individual quality as well. I thought obviously the own goal just was absolute mess. Not saying totally his fault, but it was an absolute mess. And the first goal, that's nothing to do with formation change. That's just him being absolutely turned inside out, and he's got to be putting a challenge in there. He shouldn't be allowing Calvert-Lewin to get a shot off, and even the second goal just allows Ndiaye to run off him. He's got to be tracking in and making sure Ndiaye's not getting all that space. So I think definitely struggled with the formation change, but I think individually as well. Look, I'm not going to hammer him because he's been absolutely exceptional for an 18-year-old kid coming into the team and playing as much football as he has in recent weeks. He was bound to have at least one game where he wasn't going to be at it, or he was going to have a bad game. But I think it was a terrible game from him. There's no getting away from it, so I feel bad for him.
Radu Dragusin, Sim gives him a 3, I gave him a 2. I mean, for the second goal, I thought it was embarrassing from him. He needs to come and be aggressive up against Ilman and Ndiaye. He did anything but that, backing off. He did get a head injury, got taken off at half-time. But, I mean, every time he was on the ball, he pretty much lost it. I mean, it was so frustrating watching him trying and play out the back and play those long balls up to Sonny or Decky or whoever he was aiming at. I don't even know, because it never even reached the target. Really poor.
Yeah, I thought on the ball as usual, terrible. But defensively in this game, he was just all over the shop. The defending for Ndiaye's goal, he's got to be showing him inside. I mean, technically, yes, I know you don't want to be showing a player like that in towards the goal, but you've got Ben Davies covering when you know you don't have the pace to make sure that he's not going to exploit that space on the outside. You've got to make sure he's closing down as much space as possible, and to do that you have to force him inside, because if you do that he's going to run into Ben Davies and all of a sudden he's going to run out of space. He didn't do that. He showed him on the outside, and Ndiaye took complete advantage of it. I thought he didn't have a great role to play in the own goal as well. I'm not sure if it comes off him then Gray, or it was just off Gray, but it was just absolute terrible. And I thought he didn't deal with Calvert-Lewin whatsoever. Calvert-Lewin just beat him all ends up pretty much throughout the whole 90 minutes, whether it was in behind or in the air. Dragusin was all over the shop, so a mare from him as well, and then went off at half time. So yeah, I don't know what if it was down to injury or what it was, or tactical, but we looked better again. Not the first time we looked better once Dragusin's gone off, to be honest.
Yeah. Ben Davies up next. Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 4. In terms of the back three, I actually did think he was the best of a bad bunch. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he played well. They said he wasn't ready to start after the game, or he wasn't at 100%, and he played like it. I thought, where he did do well was, better than Archie and better than Radu was playing out the back. I mean, he did create that chance for Sonny as well with a really nice ball, but in terms of from his defensive play, I mean, he was pretty much all at sea.
Yeah, I think he was probably the most comfortable playing in that back three, because he's done it. Yeah, he's done it so often, and he knows how to play. And I thought there were times he was able to get forward and do really well, but yeah, I think defensively, again, though, he wasn't helped by his teammates, and I think he just led to what was a really disorganised back three where no one knew their positions, and I think he really struggled for it as well. And I thought defensively, again, all over the shop, and he didn't look 100%. He wasn't supposed to play 90 minutes because Dragusin went off. He ended up playing 90 minutes, and feel bad for him as well. But look, we need him back, hopefully, and seeing he's not 100%, that's probably led to the performance, but we need him back in the form he was pre-injury. We need him. We need that Davis desperately.
Jed Spence, Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. He seems to be one of the only players that's keeping up his standards week by week, and it's no surprise to me it's a player that hasn't played too much football over the course of the season. I think he's aggressive on the left-hand side. He's providing to the attack, and from a defensive capability, he's not falling apart like pretty much all our other players. And I felt in the second half as well, towards the end of it, when Mikey Moore came on, I thought they had a really good link-up.
Yeah, I thought he did really well, actually. I thought his when he was taking people on, was doing a really great job. I thought his duels. I think most of their attacks came down the right-hand side. I thought Spence was making sure defensively he was kind of doing his job really well. The only problem I had with him is when he did get into that final third, again, his reluctance to use his left foot. Either he doesn't have one, or the reluctance to use it is making moves break down a lot, and it means that a lot of the chances that could be created don't get created because he either takes that extra move to step inside and then the chance is gone, or the quality isn't there and it either goes out for a corner or we end up losing the ball. So dribbling wise, aggression wise, brilliant. Fair play to him, done really well. But unfortunately, I think if he was playing a right back instead of left back, I think it would be a different scenario. I think he'd be able to whip those balls across the face of goal, and you would see a lot better from him in the final third. But he's really good at getting to the final third, and then it seems to break down for him, unfortunately. But I thought probably one of, if not our best player on the day, to be fair.
Pape Sarr, Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 2. I mean, horrific passing in the middle of the park. One that led to, I think it was the second goal for Everton. I don't know what's going on with Pape at the moment. Is he running on empty? But he's just not providing anything for the team. And he's pretty much just leaving a gaping hole in the middle of the park that Everton just had all the time and all the space in the world to work in. And he's just playing shocking at the moment, and he's a shadow of, we were praising him so much, halfway into the first half of the season, and the last 3 or 4 games he's been nothing short of horrific.
Yeah, I also don't think the formation change helped him playing in that double pivot. I think he needed that extra support because I thought Mangala, Decore, Idrissa Gueye were just completely overrunning him in that middle, and he couldn't live with it. You can see that for the, I think it was the opening goal. He's just chasing shadows at times, and he couldn't really catch up with anyone. And yeah, it was another shocking performance. I agree, he's just not at it at the moment, and I don't know if he can't put the energy levels that we know he can. Quality-wise on the ball, he's really struggling as well. So, yeah, terrible.
Lucas Bergvall up next, 6s all round. Another one that seems to keep up his standards week in, week out at the moment, and another one who's had not too much game time all season, so it's not too surprising. But I really love the energy levels that he brings. I mean, the midfield was getting completely overran yesterday, but every time I thought Lucas Bergvall got on the ball, I thought he provided a bit of quality. He's the only player pretty much in the midfield that was able to really keep onto the ball and provide accurate passes. So yeah, one of the better performers.
Yeah, and again, I thought he grew as the game went on. I thought second half he was kind of started to dominate a bit in that middle, and he was striding around the pitch. But first half, again, I think him and Sarr really struggled against that midfield 3. He was making fouls. He was a bit all over the shop defensively. He wasn't getting in his position. I think on the ball, you just see though that flashes of quality he can bring. And I thought second half he played really well. But yeah, I think. When it comes to him, it's difficult when you've got such strong midfielders like Everton have, and he's trying to do his best and he couldn't.
James Maddison, Sim gives him a 4, I gave him a 3. I mean, for a player who's barely started a game over the course of the last month, he's getting half an hour here, half an hour there in games. Sim gives him a 4, I gave him a 3. You really expect him to really take the game by the scruff of the neck, really to be the danger man, really to show why he's the vice captain of this football club. And he does anything but that. He gets the ball, he twists and turns without providing really any quality at the end of it. I thought, when we were in the ascendancy in the last 15 minutes, he did some work to provide Kulusevski with that goal. But apart from that, he pretty much didn't have anything to do in the game.
Yeah, I mean, he saw a lot of the ball, but he just wasn't able to do anything with it. His passing was erratic, giving it away, sloppy passes when he should be doing a lot better. I thought he did do well for the goal, to be fair. He made sure he kept it away from Pickford and gave it to Mikey Moore, who obviously had the shot blocked, and Decky scored. But that was the only real moment where he showed any sort of composure or quality. I thought actually one thing he lacked, which is very rare for someone like Maddison, is that composure. He tried his best to kind of dictate the game, but wasn't working at all for him, and he struggled to impact it in the way that with the quality he has that he should really be impacting it. He was kind of playing in the middle. I know he was a bit of a new position for him, but he should be doing a lot better than what he provided yesterday, because I just thought the quality was nowhere near enough.
Decky up next, Sim gives him a 7, I gave him a 6, and like I said in the match review, God bless this man. He's been overplayed, overworked. The guy is knackered. You could clearly see it again on the pitch yesterday. But the work ethic and the effort that this guy is putting in is incredible. And there was bits of quality in there as well. In the first half, I thought if anything was going to come, it was going to come through him. And in the second half, obviously, it was an unbelievable finish, wasn't it, for the goal to make it 3-1. I think there was 3 men back there, and he had to get it literally pinpoint into the roof of the net, and that's what he did. But yeah, I really feel for him. He made 5 key passes on the day as well. I really feel for him because, you know, he's running on empty at the moment, and he's literally giving all that he can give right now.
Yeah, I thought he looked really good, to be fair, on the day, and fair play to him. I thought it was a good performance, but unfortunately he was let down by majority of the players around him. I thought the chance he set up for Son, brilliant piece of movement as well, great turn and laid into Son, who should be scoring. The goal he scored was a touch of class, lovely chip into the top corner in a pressure moment, so fair play. And I thought he was the only one who was consistently causing Everton problems in the front line, but I thought Maddison and Sonny really let him down with their finishing and their performances. So I thought he did well with Mikey Moore as well when he came on, and I thought when Richarlison came on, he had someone to aim at. He kept going long to him and nearly getting some joy. So yeah, I thought he played well.
And last but not least in the starting lineup is Son Heung-min. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 3. I mean, you've got to finish that chance at 1-0. You just have to finish that chance. As Sonny of old, Sonny with confidence, he finishes that 10 times out of 10. And you can just see clearly, you know, first of all, he's knackered, and second of all, he's devoid of all confidence. And it's really hard to watch. It really is. And, you know, credit to him for getting in positions where he should have scored. The first chance that he did get, you know, where it looks like he's bearing down on goal and James Tarkowski just makes up ground and tackles him. I thought he needs to act quicker in that situation. But, look, he was getting opportunities to score. But if you're getting in those opportunities, you've got to put it in the back of the net. And he didn't.
Yeah, the only reason I'll give him a bit of a 5 instead of a lot lower, because he was actively, continually doing stuff to hurt Everton. He was getting in behind, he was causing problems. But once he gets in those positions, we know Son needs to be a killer that we know he can be, and he just wasn't that. He was stretching Everton, and considering how Everton usually defend, the fact that he was able to find a bit of space and find those moments is easier said than done. And I thought he was doing well to do that, but the finishing just wasn't there on the day. Then second half, moved a bit. Obviously, I thought when Mikey Moore came on, there was some good link up there between those two. But unfortunately, with Son's quality, when he doesn't finish those chances and we end up losing the game, especially at crucial moments, he's going to be marked down for it. Also, a bit unlucky because he could have had a penalty, but it would have been a soft one. But I do think on replay, I think Bramford was a bit lucky not to give away a penalty in that situation.
Richarlison, the sub who came on at half-time for Radu Dragusin, 6s all round for Richie. And yeah, he added a bit of extra energy. I thought he didn't really do much up until the last 15 minutes. And then he got on the back of a really great cross from Mikey Moore and puts it in the back of the net, so gets marked up for that.
Yeah, a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde cameo for Richie. I thought definitely added a bit more in the front line when he comes to a bit of a presence. He did have a chance or two where his left foot shot was too comfortably safe from Pickford. He should be burying that. And I thought he just gave us someone that I think Decky and Porro kept going direct to him, and we were getting a bit of joy out of it, which obviously we couldn't really do that in the first half without him. And we're definitely going to need him massively over the next few weeks with Solanke out. Hopefully it's not as bad as people are fearing, but some people are saying 6 weeks. We're going to need Rishi in that period. And he got his goal, and I think it was a good finish, well-timed run off the back of a good cross by Moore. And I think that's his first Premier League goal of the season, so good timing, because with Solanke out, we're going to need him in good form. But Maddison said after the game he's still not fit enough to start games, so it'll be interesting to see when that happens, because we're going to need him desperately.
And the last of the playing staff, our star boy, Mikey Moore. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. He came on and straight away was just causing Everton problems. Willingness to run at his opponent. He was providing quality, and the assist was an absolute delight. It really was. A cross from deep, bang on the money for Richarlison, who made the right run. So I've got to give Mikey Moore so much credit, because at a time where the team just needed something extra, it took for a 17-year-old kid to come on and provide it. So yeah, he's got to be getting more minutes.
Yeah, phenomenal. And we know he's been out for quite a long time, and just trying to just ease him back into the fold. But this was a phenomenal cameo, I thought. As soon as he came on, it just sparked Tottenham into life a bit. And he was the one asking questions of that Everton backline, causing problems for their fullbacks, winning corners, committing players, creating openings. I think he created the opening for Richarlison where he missed his chance. it was obviously he was involved in the first goal when he got in a good position where his shot was blocked and Decky scoring the rebound, and then obviously unbelievable cross, quick thinking as well, took the corner quickly, got in a position and put it absolutely on a sixpence for Richarlison at the back post to bury it. And maybe if that game went on for a bit longer and Mikey Moore had a bit more of a say, maybe we could have got back in the game, but too little too late, unfortunately. But a brilliant cameo from him, and we just need to see more of him in this kind of form, because maybe if he's going to step up in this kind of form, that can be another kind of weapon we can use, because we're clearly running out of them at the moment.
Most definitely need more of Moore. It gave me a bit of vibes of the cameo, the second half he had at AZ Alkmaar, like that, those first 15 minutes in the second half, where he was just untouchable. It felt like Everton didn't really just know how to deal with him.
Absolutely.
And last but not least, Ange Postecoglou. Sim gives him a 3, I gave him a 2. Tried a new formation, got it completely wrong. 3-0 down at half-time, game gone. Maybe because of the decisions that he made. I thought persisting to play with some of these knackered players when you've got players on the bench, albeit not many, but you do have a few situations where you can take a few players out the firing line. Porro being a clear example of that, where you could have played Reguilon at left back and Spence at right back, which probably impacts Spence better in the attacking phases of the game as well, where that Reguilon and Spence can't play on Thursday. So it's just madness to me why you don't play them in this game. So you give Porro a bit of a rest in the weekend, and then have him a little bit fresher for the game on Thursday night. Not to saying playing Reguilon would have changed all our fortunes, or we would have gone and won the game. We probably wouldn't, but at least it gives a bit of respite to some of our players, and they can play the game on Thursday without having 90 minutes in their legs on the weekend. I thought Mikey Moore should have either started or come on a lot earlier than he did. And I just felt like you've got players like Will Lancashire there as well, where you should be giving more minutes to when you're looking at players completely out on their feet. And I just feel like he looks clueless at the moment. He's managing the situation all wrong. And he's on a hiding to nothing at the moment.
Yeah, I think there was a shit show that first half. He took responsibility for it. I think the formation change completely backfired. I think the defence didn't know who they were picking up. I thought the pressing structure was completely obliterated with it as well, because players didn't seem to know who they're going with the pressing and all that kind of stuff. So it was a complete mishmash, and I think Everton completely took advantage of it, and it was a massive shit show in that first half. And second half, he obviously changed it back. He took off Dragoshin and went with Richarlison, and it didn't really change until Mikey Moore came on. We did get 2 quick goals, and there was some semblance of a fight back, but it was too little too late, unfortunately. But I think in the current situation we're in, he doesn't know how to deal with it, unfortunately. He doesn't know how to get us out of the situation we're in with the injuries and losing players left, right and centre, and he's trying to keep us playing attacking football, but it just isn't working. We're being too easily beaten every single week, and until we get players back or new signings, I just don't see the situation changing massively until that point, and I don't see him changing himself in terms of the way we're playing. Not to say that he plays the way he plays because he's gotten to where he is at in terms of his managerial career, but he has to, I think, where we are at the moment in terms of the situation, the squad, and the lack of signings and the players he's got to choose from, he has to realise that the way we're playing isn't going to yield results right now, and I don't think he seems to realise that, and it's costing us week in, week out, and it's difficult to see that situation changing until there's some respite when it comes to injuries or new signings, and we've got to sort that out as quickly as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's our player ratings after we lost 3-2 at the hands of Everton. And let's move on. And, David Ornstein's actually given out an update, not on Spurs, don't worry about that. It's Patrick Dorgu, it looks like to be going to Manchester United for 30 million. And I mean, every club seemed to be able to get deals over the line apart from Spurs at the moment. I know Arsenal probably as well, but I mean, we're in dire straits, and you're looking at clubs left, right and centre just getting business done. In terms of a January transfer window, this seems as though this is the January where most deals have ever happened in a January, and we're just sitting on our hands.
Yeah. I'm just absolutely lost for words with the lack of movement in this window. And I just I don't care about, clubs making it difficult for us. We have to be getting deals over the line at this point. I understand it's not easy. I understand teams will take advantage. I understand when you sign a player, all 3 parties have to agree, and sometimes it takes time. But this is not a situation where it's crept up on us. We knew about it. We should have planned for it. And it just seems there's been a severe lack of planning this window, which is seriously frustrating.
Yeah, and that seems to be the case every window, to be honest, with Tottenham Hotspur. But let's move on and let's see what 5 things we learned from the game against Everton. And first up is formation backfired.
Yeah, and the formation in that first half, a lot of people have been asking for Aaron to change things up and try something new, and he did do that with the 3 at the back system, but I think it was just an absolute shit show, especially the back 3. They completely lost their way when it came to positioning and knowing who to pick up where. I thought the pressing wasn't existent with this formation. I don't think the players knew who was pressing who and the kind of where to go in those situations. And it led to the absolute shit show that was that first half. We were 3-0 down to an Everton side who have barely scored 3 goals in the last 10 games. He obviously reverted back in the second half and changed it, but obviously the damage already done at that point. And the formation change was a big problem yesterday in terms of the result, and completely backfired despite changing it up.
Yeah, it was absolutely horrific what we saw from a tactical perspective in the first half. Nobody knew what it was doing, and the one key guy that didn't know what he was doing was Archie Gray, and I mean he was just getting pulled left, right and centre up the pitch, and it was just a shit show. For that whole 45 minutes we just got opened up time and time again, and it was 3-0, but that was actually showed Spurs in a good light, because it could have been about 5 or 6. Literally, Kinski kept us in the game, but kept the score at 3-0 with some great saves. So tactically, it was an absolute shit show from Ange Postecoglou in that first half. Let's go to number 2, and that is more Mikey.
Yeah, and he only got 20 minutes against Everton, but he did a lot on those 20 minutes. He had 18 touches. He had made 4 crosses, completing one of them. He created a chance for Richarlison. He had 1 shot on target as well, and obviously he got that beautiful assist right at the end of the game for Richarlison, which he absolutely buried. It was a brilliant moment for him, and showing in the Premier League maybe clearly he can have something to offer, and we need to see more of him in that kind of mood. And if he is, then we clearly know we got a star in the making. But it was a brilliant cameo for him, and it really took him to kind of come on to show any sort of spark in that final third, because before that we really lacked anything.
This is a generational talent that we're talking about in Mikey Moore. I've been calling for him to get more minutes. I know he's been injured and he's been out of the firing line for a while now, but I thought even before that he should have got more minutes. He should have come on earlier, if not started the game yesterday. And he shows it. Every time he gets on the pitch, he shows how much quality he has. In the Europa League, before he got those, he got the illness or whatever he was suffering with, he was showing it on a regularity. And now in the Premier League, I know when he started against Crystal Palace, it wasn't the greatest game, but in this game against a team who are very solid defensively and have shown that throughout the season, I think he gave them such a torrid time, and he was the only one on the pitch really that gave Everton something to think about. So I've got to give massive credit to Mikey Moore, and let's hope that we can see more of him in the coming games. And I'm fully expecting him to start on Thursday night. Number 3 is dominant Spence.
Yeah, and he was actually quite dominant on that left-hand side, despite the fact that overall it wasn't a great performance from the team. I think individually, I thought he had some really strong. He had quite a strong showing, especially defensively, and I think up until the final third, it was really good as well. He had 10 dribbles on the day, completing 9 of them, which is an astonishing stat, to be fair, on that left-hand side. Won 14 of his 22 ground duels, which is actually not uncommon for him anymore to be winning so many duels. 2 out of 2 aerial duels won as well. Completed 3 tackles on the day, but again, obviously it was actually no key passes and 0 out of 3 crosses completed. So it did show that he struggles when he did get to the final third to really show much quality. But I think up until then, he was probably our best player on the pitch, and I thought the amount of dribbles he completed is seriously impressive, and that showed, I thought, and the duels as well showed some dominance down that side.
Yeah, absolutely. He was very good. Another one of the players that is keeping up his standards week in, week out at the moment, whether it's at right back, whether most likely at left back. And it just keeps making a mockery of why we haven't used him more throughout the season, why he's not in this European squad as well. It really makes a mockery of Ange Postecoglou's decision in that aspect. And the only reason he's been given a chance is because of the injuries that we've got. And the guy's a quality player. He really is a quality player, and he's showing it week in, week out at the moment. One of the only ones just standing up for the team as a regularity. And yesterday, like you say, one of, if not our best player on the pitch yesterday out of a very, very bad bunch. So big up to Jed Spence. Number 4 is Rishi's impact.
Yeah, and I thought it was another good cameo from him after a cameo in the second half against Arsenal, where he came on, looked quite bright, and was once again, maybe it's because he's not been playing, but he looked a lot fresher than a lot of the other players. I thought he came on the pitch, gave us a much bigger presence than we had before then. I thought, again, he was kind of asking different questions of the back line. He did have a chance where his shot was saved by Pickford. He then ends up on the score sheet, but I thought he allowed us to go a bit more direct. He allowed us to kind of cause the back line a few more problems. In terms of some stats, he won 2 of his 3 aerial duels yesterday, so in the air, causing a few more problems for Everton than beforehand, and then obviously he did get his goal, and that's actually his first Premier League goal of the season. And considering he's been out, actually his goal to game issue probably isn't that bad, because scored against RZ, scored yesterday, and then he got an assist against Villa. And considering the amount of minutes he's played, he's probably goal contribution rate with the minutes he's played probably isn't terrible this season because he's played so little. But we're going to need him.
Before he got injured as well, he scored like 9 in 11 or something.
Yeah, he did really well. So with Solanke out, we're going to absolutely need him over the next few weeks.
The problem is with Richarlison, and I completely agree with everything you say, but the problem is with Richarlison is like he's literally just hanging on by a thread every time we play him, because we just don't know whether he's going to get injured or not. And last time we did the exact same thing, right? We waited 2 weeks to put him back into the side. He got a cameo against Aston Villa and then got injured making an assist. And yesterday he had a collision with Pickford whilst scoring the goal and looked like he hurt himself as well. So let's hope there's no injury there. But I mean, this guy's fitness is literally just hanging by a thread every time he plays.
Yeah, and we're going to need him to be more robust than ever, because he's going to have to play all the minutes probably till, unless we also give some to Lancashire. But he's going to have to play he's going to have to do what Solanke was doing, and whether he's as physically robust and capable of doing it, probably not.
Yeah, and look, Will Lancashire has to get more minutes now. There's just no option. We have to give him more minutes. We can't play Richarlison 90 minutes in every game.
But we were set to send him on loan.
I think that plan has to be thrown out the window.
Unless we sign a forward.
Sign. What is that? A signing? I don't even know what that is. But let's go on to 5th and final takeaway, 15th.
And after that defeat yesterday, it means, I don't know what our run is now, one win in 10. I think it's 1 win, 2 draws and 7 defeats in our last 10 games. Gave Everton their first win, I think in their last 10 games as well. And we're now, in terms of relegation, we are still 8 points clear of Ipswich and Wolves as well. But we are hurtling down the table. We're now 4 points away from Everton, who've got a game in hand as well. We're now 9 points away from the top half as well. So we're just completely dropping, and with every game we're losing more and more players, and we currently sit in 15th, which is an unbelievable position for a club like ours, who are the positions we have been in over the last, even since Pochettino, we've never been as low as this. And 15th is just an absolute shocking position, and it looks like it's going to get worse before it gets better at the moment.
I wonder when the last time we've actually been this low in the table at this stage of the season. Is there a stat for that? Do you know it? Because it must be a long time ago. It must be a real long time ago.
It must be in the 90s at the earliest.
And we were talking about Everton. They were one of the only clubs in the league that were waiting longer for a Premier League win than us. They last win on the 4th of December. We last won on the 15th of December against Southampton in the Premier League. So it's ridiculous how easy it was for them to beat us yesterday. It really was. But yeah, I mean, you talk about the situation and the injuries not getting any better, and you're completely right on that aspect. But the more the situation doesn't get better, the more we have to overpay players, and the more tired these players are going to get. We've got to play on Thursday night, and great, Spencer's going to get arrested, but Porro's the one that actually needs the rest. And again, I know I keep repeating myself, but it's just madness how some of the decisions that Ange Postecoglou tends to take in some of these games, when there's players there that have barely played a minute all season, where you can give them options and you can give respite, and these players are not exactly the worst players in the world. So we're 15th, and I can see it getting worse, a lot worse, before it gets better. And we've got a big game against Leicester this weekend, and we've got to put in a hell of an effort on Thursday night against Hoffenheim to try and get ourselves in the top 8 of the Europa League group stages. So I don't know how we're going to manoeuvre this situation. We're going to have to get lucky in some aspects to get some results, but this Leicester game, don't get it twisted, it's a massive game in terms of getting sucked even deeper into this relegation battle.
What's our back four going to be on Thursday? Because with no Spence or Reguilon, and if I don't know what Dragoshin is, but even if he's fit, I guess we'll have to be Gray, Porro, Dragoshin and Davis, I guess, somehow cobbled together a back four out of that.
Yeah.
And Kinski can't play.
Kinski can't play, so Brandon Austin in goal.
God.
And on top of that, you're looking at those players that are going to have to play. Porro is completely knackered. Ben Davis wasn't even fit enough to play on the weekend, ended up playing 90 minutes, so he's probably not going to be in the best condition. Radu Dragusin goes off with a head injury. We don't know what condition he's going to be in.
Gray's 18, he's
and
playing
Gray's
every
an
minute.
18-year-old central midfielder.
Playing every minute.
So, I mean, it's going to take an almighty hell of an effort just to beat Hoffenheim, and they're in the relegation zone in Bundesliga.
Yep, 100%.
So that is the 5 things we learnt about in the Everton 3-2 loss. And let's move on to the last segment of the stream, and we're going to go to reacts and see how the internet did react to the defeat yesterday. And first up is Kyle, Richarlison season, saying he's atting Tottenham Hotspur, saying day 19, which is actually day 20 now. He says, sign some effing players.
Come on. Everyone, I think we all need to get some signs out and go to this Tottenham Stadium and just hold these signs, because I don't know if they're getting the message or not, or they realise the bad situation we're in, but literally each game, each day that passes is like another failure at this point, because we are so desperate for new players through the door. It just doesn't get any more desperate than this right now.
Yeah. Squawker Bet saying Tottenham now have a 69.2 implied chance of finishing in the bottom half this season. It's been 17 years since they last finished outside the top 10.
I'll say refresh, I think. Or maybe you refresh.
Oh, do I need to refresh? Okay, we'll go to this one first. Counter Pressers says, to all those Tottenham fans that sit there and say, Ange out, do you possess any critical thinking at all? For starters, if he was to be sacked, who would you bring in? Iraola, Terzic, Allegri? Do you really think there'll be a difference? The whole environment is a byproduct of poor ownership. Ange cried out for weeks about Solanke's health, yet the board didn't sign a competent backup. In the midst of a horrific injury crisis, how many players have they brought in? 1, a goalkeeper. Ange Postecoglou is not faultless. I'm not saying that, but he is not the root evil. If Ange is sacked, he will go on to better and grander things. Tottenham will continue this vicious cycle of life under Levy and ENIC. That is why Ange has to stay. Look, the reality is, right, there's a lot of truth in what he's saying. But with the situation that we are in, Ange is doing himself no favours and the club no favours at all whatsoever right now. When we're dropping further and further, and I have no doubt in my mind that the main problems of this football club is not Ange Postecoglou. The main problems at this football club is Daniel Levy and the way he runs the clubs and go about his business on a day-to-day basis over the past 20, 25 years. But the situation that we are in calls for something different right now from our manager. It calls for someone to just get us out of this mess and be very pragmatic and just get us through games, because with the tiring squad, we need Ange to use every single asset at his disposal, and he's just not doing that right now. And we're losing to teams that we lost to a team yesterday who hadn't won since the 4th of December, right? And we're playing a team, probably another team that are on worse form than us in Leicester, and I've just got no hope that we can go and win. And I feel like, he says that Allegri won't make a difference, but the more and more I think about it, the more I think that Allegri might be one of the options that can get us out of this mess from now to the end of the season.
Yeah, and if that's what you're looking for, then he might be. That's
what I'm looking for, because I don't want to get relegated.
Yeah, as I've said, I don't believe we will get relegated. I think we'll have enough to stay up. I'm not worried. I know people are worried about it, but as I've said, we've lost how many games? what we've
13
said.
now or
No, we've lost 7 out of the last 10, and we're still 8 points clear. So, like, I really don't think there's an actual fear of us getting relegated.
How many points were we before those 7 losses though?
Don't know, a lot more than 8. But
what if we lose 7 out of our 10 in our next 10 games?
Then there's a chance we'll be dragged into it. Yeah.
Exactly.
But I don't think we are going to be seriously dragged into it. I think we'll have enough points to be fine for relegation. But if we do it now, we're obviously looking to get out of the situation before we are seriously dragged into it, and I understand that as well, to be honest. So, do I think Allegri or whatever would come in and do it? Yes, but then I also think it doesn't really help the long-term ambitions of this club if we do that as well. So it's a balancing act of we're on a precipice right now of what we want to do and where we think we can go. Do we think we can ride this out without it getting so bad that we're seriously dragged into it, and then hopefully come out the other side, and then hopefully give Ange what he needs to really build this team? Or are we gonna get worried about the fact that we could be dragged into this relegation, go for a little short-term fix, and then completely start again in the summer? And those are the 2 options.
Do you believe that we're going to lose our next 2 games?
Do I believe we will lose our next 2
Premier
games?
League games, yeah. Leicester at home and Brentford away.
There's a good chance we will, yeah.
Yeah. So if we do lose our next 2 games, there is a big reality that we could be only 5 points from the drop.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean...
But if Allegri comes in, does he win them?
I think he's got a better chance of getting points, yeah.
Yeah, but we're ripping up the project because he has got a better chance of winning those games.
But there is no project right now. This project has been failing for a long time now. It's not just about these injuries as well. Yes, we were doing better before the injuries. I know we were. But still, it wasn't good enough. And I didn't think we were going... I haven't thought we've been going in the right direction probably since before the Ipswich game.
Okay, but that's not the point. There is a project. You can see the young players there. Then
Any manager will have these young players.
Not as good as these guys. And I thought Ange is doing well with them, to be honest. I think they're developing really well under him.
What I'm saying is that the young players will still be there.
Will they develop well under Allegri?
No, but Allegri is only going to be a short-term option until the end of the season.
I'm not saying... we're going to get Allegri for 6 months. He's going to sign a 6-month deal, is he?
Yeah, why not?
I don't think he will.
Why not?
Why would he? Well, he's a manager of top standard. He's not going to come here for 6 months. He's going to want a 2-3 year deal.
What, it's better getting some wages into his back pocket than nothing? Or if he's doing nothing for the next 6 months?
I don't think he'll just come here for 6 months. He's not that kind of manager, in my opinion. Look, I understand both situations. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I would try my best to ride it out, but we need to get Ange some help.
I think we're past the situation of riding it out. We're too close. We're too close for comfort right now. 8 points at this stage of the season when, even yourself says you don't think we're going to win in the next 2 games.
I didn't say we're done. I think there's a good chance we don't. I'm not saying we definitely won't.
Obviously, no one can say anything for definite, but you said you don't think we're going to win in our next 2 games. Do you think we're going to win in our next 2 games?
I think we could beat Leicester, yeah.
Do you think we will?
I don't know. I'm not confident in the future. I think we can beat them.
I'm asking you to make a prediction. Do you think we'll win in our next 2 games? Do you think that...
I can make a prediction now, but I don't know. Will we have any signings by the time we play them? I don't know.
Probably not. Maybe 1. You know how this club works.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, if we lose to Leicester, which is a big reality right now, and then can you see us going to Brentford and getting anything? Of course you can't.
Not right now.
So I mean, if we lose these next 2 games and Ipswich go and beat Southampton, which is also a big reality, we'll be 5 points from the drop. 5 points. Like, we need to think about this seriously. We can't be thinking about long-term projects right now when we've got a realistic chance of getting dragged in to a relegation battle.
That's what the club have to decide, I think. Look, as I was saying, right now, I still don't think we're gonna be dragged into it properly. I think we're still 8 points clear, and as much as everyone's worried about it because we keep losing, I still think we'll stay clear of it. But there is a realistic chance we do get dragged into it, and if it gets that bad, then the club do have a serious decision to make.
Next up is Mr. Alex THFC saying, we hired a manager that no one wanted who was nearly 60-year-old coming to the end of his career for a long-term rebuild and gave him a 4-year contract. He's only got the job because no one else wanted it. He wasn't even top 5 on our list. There's a reason why no other Prem teams came in for him. You can get away with this football in the Scottish League with the best team in the league that can play anyway and still piss the league. Can't play like this week in, week out in the toughest league in the world. Injuries or no injuries, this is not the level and must go ASAP. Jose and Conte got hounded out for far less, yet Ange has still got the club's full backing and support. We are backing the wrong manager.
I understand that point of view. In terms of, I don't agree with can't play this way week in, week out in this league, because we've seen teams play very high pressing and kind of football in this league with the right tools. It can definitely work. We're clearly not there at the moment, and we're suffering a massive injury crisis. But I don't believe this style of football can't work in this league, because we have seen it work. But he is right. Jose and Conte were definitely hounded out for a lot less than Ange has been hounded out. Obviously, I think their remits were very different to Ange, because they were coming in off the back of a team. Yes, we needed a rebuild, but it was still a team that would just finished top four in four of the last five, or in the last 2 or 3 seasons, and finished and gone to a Champions League final. So it was a very different state of the squad, in theory anyway, to what Ange, and they weren't tasked with a major rebuild of young players, all these kind of things. So, and also completely changing the style of play. So I think different remit to the job, but he's absolutely right. When it comes to results, they were absolutely handed out for a lot less. And was Ange, I don't know if he was our 10th choice, but definitely we wanted Slot before him, and I don't know who else we wanted before. Was it Slot?
Yeah, it was
Slot, and who else? We were looking at who else were we looking at last summer?
But I definitely wasn't our first choice. That's
no,
for
he
sure.
wasn't. Slot was our first choice, which would have been obviously a great appointment in hindsight as well. We couldn't get that over the line. But I don't know if he was as low as 10th or whatever it was he's accusing this guy of. In terms of a 6-year-old manager that no one wanted, I mean, I don't know about that either. I think other clubs didn't.
If we go back to our manager tier list, you didn't want him either.
No, I didn't want him, but he wasn't my first choice as well. But that's the manager we've picked, and from what I've seen of him, when we have players available and when the football's working, it can work. We've seen that.
It can work in specific games, 100%. I'm not denying that. But when you've got a club like Tottenham Hotspur is run, you cannot play this style of football every single game. We don't have the players to do it every single game. We're not a Liverpool and a Klopp who are going to go and buy the best in class and blow teams away week in, week out. We're just not that. We need a manager that is going to be able to be adaptable in tactics, like a Marco Silva, even a Thomas Frank to a certain extent. These are the kind of managers that are going to work at Tottenham Hotspur with the players that we give at their disposal.
At the moment, that's fair. But I think it can work if you give them the tools.
But that's the point. We're not going to give him the tools. So how can a manager like Ange Postecoglou ever work when we don't give him the tools? We don't give any manager the tools.
Then no manager's going to work then.
Yeah, what I'm saying is you can't manage a team in this fashion if you don't get the tools, but you actually can make it work if you're a bit adaptable and actually change proper things and style of play for each and every opposition.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, that's your opinion.
Squawker Bet says Tottenham now have 69.2 implied chance of finishing. I just went through. Bottom half this season. It's been 17 years since they last finished outside the top 10.
Yeah, we're gonna have to be bottom half this season. That's the reality.
Yeah, not good enough. Pro Tottenham says, how can any of you Ange Inlaw honestly say? You look at how we play and can't say that we are well drilled and organised and look at as though we know what we are doing. There is no structure to our play. Ange hasn't got a clue. It's a disgrace watching us play.
I think in the current situation, absolutely. I don't think it's always been like that. And I do think that when we're on it, or when we had the players available and we're not putting mishmash team together, I don't think it's always this bad. But yeah, right now, for the last especially 2 months or whatever, that has been the situation. Not every game has been as disorganised as it was yesterday. I think that's fair to say as well. But yesterday we changed formation, we tried something different, and it absolutely backfired on us. So there's no doubt about that.
Odds Bible saying Tottenham fans going into every game right now. Hurry up and lose so we can get out of here. That's what it feels like, to be honest.
Yeah, it just feels like we just want to. It's tough watching Tottenham right now. It is tough.
Pro Tottenham again says Bournemouth have 9 players out and are still beating Newcastle away and are currently sat in 6th place, 13 ahead of us. But a lot of you stuck up for the dross Ange says about injuries causing us to lose all these games. An excuse he's been using for 14 months. Iraola isn't out there moaning. And you know what? The amount of injuries they have, they went to Newcastle, battered them 4-1, played them off the park.
Brilliant result. He's a very good manager. I do think it's a very different situation. They haven't had all these injuries for as long as we have, and they're not playing 3 days a week. So it's different, but they have those injuries, and they got the win. It was an unbelievable performance. So this isn't about bashing Iraola or anything. I don't think Iraola comes in tomorrow and massively changes the situation we're in, because I still think he plays the way he does as well, in terms of high intensity, a lot of running. Like that's caused a lot of the injuries they have right now. Obviously, they're not playing 3 days a week and all these different things, so maybe the injuries they've only really started to happen properly at the beginning of this month. So it's a different situation, but he's doing a fine job. This is not taking anything away from Iraola, brilliant manager, but I also think the comparison, I think that you can compare in terms of the amount of injuries, because it goes to show if you play this kind of football, it's not just because Ange's fault that the injuries have come. Iraola as well, if he would have been here, maybe he would have also had similar amount of injuries. But look, he's doing a brilliant job. I think it's different in terms of the result. Because look, last season we had injuries, but we still finished in 5th. So, it's a different situation in terms of getting the results in this current situation of the injuries, in my opinion.
No context. Tottenham, just giving us a reminder where we were sitting after the first 10 games of last season.
Yeah, it's a world away.
Alex F1BCL saying, Tottenham fans right now, I'm having a bad day, not bad enough, let's make it even worse.
Yeah, it seems to be every week at the moment.
And no context, Tottenham again saying, current waiting room, Calvert-Lewin hasn't scored since September the 14th. Hoffenheim 16th in the Bundesliga, haven't won since November the 23rd. Leicester, 1 away Premier League win this season.
Here's your prescription from Dr. Tottenham.
When is this bloody Dr. Tottenham going to retire, man?
Strip his medical degree, honestly. Strip him.
Sean THFC, Suffering Spurs, says, forget Ange, Levy or any of the players. The worst thing about Tottenham Hotspur is the type of fan that can stand there abusing a player who served the club for 10 years, mostly brilliant. We have plenty of them. Fickle, entitled fucktards with half a brain cell between them. So there was this clip doing the rounds. Obviously, he zoomed in to Sonny apologising to the fans, and then obviously all the fans are shouting wanker, wanker, wanker. But I genuinely don't believe it. It was targeted at Sonny. That I think it was targeted at Ange, and I think it was targeted as the squad as a whole.
I think it was just the whole team. Obviously, Ange is there as well. But
I think it's just because the camera is zoomed in at Sonny at that moment.
Yeah, it makes it look like it's Son. I don't think it is Son, but still, it's not nice when you got the club captain coming over and they're shouting those things. I think obviously the situation yesterday, we know it was a bit of an early kickoff, so people are leaving early to come to the game, and we're serving up that rubbish in that first half. The game was over by half. You could have left at half time in that game, so there's always going to be a lot of frustration. We're added to the context, we're losing every week, and there's just seem to be turning it around. Then tensions will boil over in that situation. That's what we saw. I don't like it. I'm not going to be one shouting those kind of things at the players, but when fans do, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't understand it, because I understand there are people who have spent their hard-earned money travelling early to far to get to this game, and that's what they got in return. So I understand the frustration. I'm not sitting here saying I would have done that or advocating for it, but I can't sit here and say if you're a fan who works really hard really hard for your money, and you spend your whole week saving money to get to these games, and that's what you're happening, and tensions boil over. That's also understandable.
EFC Stato and out of context Everton say Everton beat Tottenham in the Premier League at Goodison Park for the first time since December 2012. So that means David Moyes is the first Everton manager since David Moyes to beat Tottenham at Goodison in the league.
Ridiculous. Yeah. And look, I think he's a good manager, Moyes. He'll keep them up. But yeah, ridiculous stat there.
Footy Humour says Tottenham having a plus 27 goal difference over West Ham, yet sitting a place below them in the table is wild. I've never actually seen a team this low in the league to have such a positive goal difference.
Man, it's mental. It's mental. It's crazy, but that's just Tottenham for you. We're just a club that makes no sense.
Fantasy Scout _11 says, I think this tweet perfectly sums up Tottenham. And it was Billy T saying, being a Spurs fan is like having a terminal disease where you don't get to die at the end of it.
Honestly, just living through this hell. Oh, make it stop.
And it's like every time you go through the hell and then get out of it, it's just like something worse just waiting around the corner.
Honestly, there's always something worse.
Sneha says, bottom half clubs when they face Tottenham Hotspur.
Seems to be every club when they face Tottenham Hotspur at the moment. But
No context, Tottenham, burn down the stadium, mate.
just burn it all down. I think a lot of people feel like that at the moment. Just burn it down.
Paddy Power, Tottenham making Everton look like prime 2011 Barcelona is some achievement. Probably the only team that have made Everton feel this tall and puff their chest out as much as that yesterday.
Definitely.
Paddy Power again, Postecoglou deciding on his tactics before each game.
Paddy.
The 44 saying, how bizarre is this? Tottenham players apologising for their gutless performance whilst Richarlison is doing his own lap of honour to clap the Everton fans. I mean, come on, Richie, man. You should be going over to the away end and apologising as well.
Maybe he was. I
Maybe.
wasn't there. I don't know. But obviously, he was an Everton player for a few years, so it is what it is, I guess, at this point. But it is a bit strange.
Becky Day saying, if Sonny doesn't get upset, people say he doesn't care. When he does, people say he's weak. He deserves more respect and is not the only one at fault. And that was in reply to Chris Cowden saying some of the Spurs players are very reluctant to come up to the away end. Sonny is extremely upset. And look, credit to Sonny for going up to the away end and apologising.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised that because I'm sure, as we saw with the videos, there's a lot of anger in that away end. So I can understand the reluctance, but you also need to respect the fans who have travelled there. That's also the case. And
yeah, whatever anyone wants to say about Sonny, he's a legend of this football club, and he deserves the utmost respect. And also, and nobody should be hurling abuse at someone like Sonny. I don't even think it was directed at Sonny, but if it was, nobody should be doing it. The guy's a legend of this football club.
Mm-hmm.
Next one is another one of those videos of Sonny. We can move past that and go to Carly on New Spurs saying Dr. Tottenham is inevitable, and this was in reply to Match of the Day saying Calvert-Lewin has failed to score in his last 16 Premier League games, and Carly says Dr. Tottenham's next patient. Yeah, and we all knew it. We all said it coming into this game, didn't we?
So obvious.
Fabrizio Romano says Tottenham have conceded 16 goals in the last 6 Premier League games, 0 Premier League clean sheets in the last month.
That's the reality. That is the reality. I mean, what can we do about it? I mean, with the defence that we got out there, it's just, what can we do about it?
Yeah. Davina saying it's never been this bad before.
No, not in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Apart from that season, we did genuinely need to get relegated when. Even though they won at our stadium, that point against Arsenal probably kept us up that year, or went a long way.
Which year are you talking about?
When Arsenal went invincible.
Oh, I see.
We generally did need to get relegated that year.
Next up, a bit of light in all the darkness yesterday. Emily Damari came home. One of our own, a Tottenham fan that was held captive over since October the 7th. She came home yesterday, so that was definitely a lot of shining light in a terrible day, which was yesterday.
Some positive news, really, in the day, and that's really great news. So happy for her and her family that she's going to be coming home, and let's hope she just hasn't been looking at some of the results of Tottenham. But fair play, unbelievable news for her, and so happy for her.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, and big up to all the Spurs fans that have been campaigning about it over the past couple of months. Charlie B says, sadly, I think it's all over for Ange. He's been dealt the worst hand I've ever seen. I hate people calling him clueless or getting personal about his weight and nationality. He's played his hand with more grace than most. I feel gutted for him. The board have let him down.
Yeah. I think that's all. They're definitely right now. They keep saying, then they're going to help him and all this kind of stuff. But where's the help?
Yeah.
Where is the help?
Yeah, and you know what? Like, as much as whatever I've said about Ange, I've always said, like, once I'm in the stadium, I'm always going to support him, and that's not going to change right now. It's not going to change at all. But when people get personal and you know start talking about his weight and you know talking about his nationality in a negative light, I mean, what's the point of it? What is the point? It's just ridiculous.
Law's just saying Postecoglou retains the support of the chairman, but the head coach is facing an important week as he fights to turn around the team's form.
Didn't we hear this weeks ago though?
That's what they're saying.
Alon Perez just shows Emily Damari FaceTiming with her family yesterday. So happy that she's home. Euro expert says, I don't think it's a smart idea to go from Ange to Iraola to those shouts. Nothing against Iraola, he's great, but would just represent another massive stylistic shift. Spurs need to avoid doing that again.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Not necessarily that Iraola is a massive stylistic shift, because I think in terms of the intensity and that kind of stuff, it isn't. But in terms of if we're going to bring in a firefighter and get, you know, just change it up and just get through these next few months, and then next season again, it'll be a start of a new cycle, and it'll take a, you know, it's going to. What my point is, if we can get through this situation we're in, if we can somehow do it, we will be better off for it. But the fear is we won't be able to get through the situation. That is the fear. And if we don't, obviously there's a real fear of us being dragged into relegation. But if we chuck it away, it will probably set us back, you know, quite a lot. If we decide to sack him and go in a different direction, we have to also realise and accept that doing that will set us back quite a lot in terms of anything we're trying to build. So there has to be an acceptance of that. It just depends on what situation you're wanting to go down.
And last but not least, there's a super chat here from Daniel Levy himself saying, can you explain what the project is, Sim?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. We playing high aggressive intensity football with young players, building them up and turning them into superstars, and having a robust team with players like Solanke and Decky, with robust players, high pressing football. The project has been to completely rebuild the playing style of this team from a low block kind of counter-attacking style to a high pressing, high intensity possession-based style of football, where you're putting pressure on the opposition and you're going out to try and win games rather than doing what we did before, which is just kind of catching teams out on the counter. Is a massive stylistic shift. And also we're bring in younger players, and we're hoping to build them up and to turn them into stars. That's the project, and that's going to take time to truly implement, and it's going to need time, it's going to need players. That's the project, and that's what we're trying to build, and that's how I see it. I mean, Daniel Levy should be able to explain it himself. He started it.
All right. Well, that is it from us today. That is your nearly 2 hours of Tottenham therapy done and dusted. We'll see you all tomorrow, where we got a panel show, I think, with Josh King and Brains. Let's hope, we'll see what happens there. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, Spurs.